All right. Now that we're back, I guess now we can go on to step five, which is brainstorming medium-term solutions. We already kind of talked about it. So, does anybody have like, a solution to, for this particular problem that would be like something that you could put on immediately?
Yeah, I would think probably for like an immediate one would be to hold off on the vote and like send surveys out to all the parents and to see like okay how many people agree with this or not, and then like how we talked about earlier, maybe include like what other solutions can be in play, instead of the chocolate fundraiser. I think that could be like a good immediate solution to get like everyone's input, not just the 20 parents who were at the meeting, and to have other parents also come up with other ideas to start brainstorming and talking about, like, start venturing out to other plans.
Also, I think if this was the meeting right before the fundraiser, I think that situation that arose, I think should have done in the earlier meeting. So instead of maybe just having one meeting, have one before for that reason. Again, like I was saying, like a poll, hey, I got these polls back. This is what we're talking about. Does anyone have any concerns or any problems? Can someone go further in depth about what the fundraisers that we listed? Does anyone want to go further in depth or maybe any, you know, tweaks and everything? So that way, the next meeting when we're talking about planning. We're talking about, um, already like what's gonna happen instead of like what should happen. There should be like an extra meeting. So that's far as for the PTA leadership side.
I agree with what
Yeah.
both of you
Yeah, I
said.
mean I know we covered a lot, but
Mhm.
Yeah, like we kind of went all in like around step four, and I'm just like, right, yeah.
yeah, but immediately like in that meeting, that situation arises again. I don't think it should be like nah.
Yeah, like it
Let's
shouldn't be
just
like
ignore
it
it.
shouldn't
Yeah.
be that vote, right? It shouldn't just be like a
Yep.
vote then and there, Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With us 15
Hmm.
parents, we're gonna decide an activity for the whole school, like
Yeah, and
it's a little bit, yeah.
yeah, it was very like pushy that like of course like they were gonna want to vote if majority were like the like higher
Yeah.
income parents. So yeah, I don't think that was like fair.
Plus their reasoning was a little bit like their reasoning was like, oh, we're here because we care, because we're the parents that care about our
Hmm.
school, But I think the reasoning behind that is it falters a bit because I mean, think about all the single parent households. I mean, like, the mother can't be there all the time and the father can't be there. So
Hmm.
so does that mean their voice just can't be heard because they're not attending
Or
because they
language.
supposedly, yeah, because they
Or
don't
language.
care, quote unquote. I mean, like,
Hmm.
that's kind of fault. That's kind of like really bad reasoning. So I feel like the poll would really be our only good immediate solution to have
Hmm.
more information. So I agree with you on
I
that end.
agree.
Yeah, because then they're just
Mhm.
assuming, oh, well, they don't care. Their parent, they're not here. Like what? Anyways, um, since we're, do you guys have anything else to add, or would you guys like to transition to step number six? Step number
Yeah,
six?
I think we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
six. Yeah, six is
All
good.
right. Well, with that done with step number five, we can move on to step number six, which is brainstorm long-term solutions. So a long-term solution, um, if you guys want to reiterate literally what we've been talking about, like literally this entire time, it's kind of like a short condensed plan. Go for it, and I'll write it down.
I think long term, if we're talking about like 5 to 10 years, I think that um I don't know, maybe like have some type of like record book or something, because again, generations past, I know like I'm the oldest of like three brothers, right? And I have like an older sister, but it was kind of like consecutive. Like we're all, if one's a senior, one's a freshman. If one's a freshman, like one's in
Yeah.
eighth grade coming up. So in that sense, you kind of like always have maybe a parent there that kind of has already seen like, what comes and goes and stuff. But there is gonna be a point where it's starting from like blank. This is brand new to somebody or really everybody. Um, I think just have some type of record book or something to kind of like show, okay, this is what was done this year, or even if it's just a fundraisers, or something, and just kind of like pass it along. That way, it's always just building from the year before, or like, doesn't mean to keep it forever, but okay, just if you're gonna take on that responsibility, really just take a time to kind of look and don't repeat the same things. Like, why are we going backwards? So that'd be a long-term solution that I just kind of thought of on the fly, something different. But I think it would help, um, just not, stepping on anybody's toes again. You know,
Yeah, I agree with that. And like a good long-term solution too could be like trying out different fundraisers too, like doing like how schools do like with different like fast foods and stuff, like Cane's and Chick-fil-A and stuff like that, how they have like a Chick-fil-A night or Cane's night and stuff like that. It could like a long term can be like trying a bunch of different things out, like yeah, like how Eva said, like at during lunchtime, like what works best, like and what's more comfortable for everyone and what is still bringing in like a good amount of money. Like that could be a good long-term solution to try out just a bunch of different fundraisers and tally like, okay, what did the best and what was the best for everybody, and find what was the equal ground for everything.
Yes, and going back to what Cassie had said about making it as groups, not individual fundraisers, maybe more group, either grade level or just groups versus individually.
Okay. Again, sorry guys for being quiet whenever this happens, but I'm just writing.
and you got
Yeah,
the biggest
but
job here. You got the biggest job here.
yeah. Well, I guess
But
oh, what's up?
I was also again kind of off topic right here, but just maybe for next time, maybe just we all have access, just writing down our own ideas,
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll be
as
more
it
than happy.
goes. Like if we're gonna say something in short, put it, and then kind of like do our pictures after. But
Mhm.
definitely like, oh, if we're gonna talk about like how we just talked about, maybe like record book for
Yeah.
future instances or something. I could have wrote that down. And although it's gonna be a lot like back and forth, but like on my part because of the screen, but I think that definitely make it a little bit easier.
Or
Mhm.
maybe even having like if Brandon, like, yeah, since you're recording, having like two people, like maybe like next meeting, like I can help you, Eddie, like write it as we like while you're doing number 3, I'm doing
Yeah,
number 4. Like
Yeah,
since we're going.
honestly, I would appreciate it because like every
Yeah.
now and then I just kind of stuttered. Like I have to think about it, but then like I hear all of you
Yeah.
guys talking, I'm
And then
like,
like
yeah,
as
you
you're
get off track.
typing, yeah, like
yeah,
you're
I'm
not
like, well,
getting to pay attention. Yeah,
I
I
agree
agree.
with Cassie. We can do that. Yes, definitely.
Mhm.
We can all
yeah,
do a number too.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever's like easier for all.
Minus
Yeah,
Brandon.
maybe that would be easy too if we all just had one like um a one step.
steps. Ah, okay, yeah,
Steps.
I can definitely see that. All right,
Yeah,
well,
whatever's easy.
yeah, I guess we can do that in the future then. But I
Well, we
think,
only have like 2 more weeks or 1 more week
yeah,
and stuff.
exactly. Like we can do that. I guess we can do that for the next meeting then, if you guys want to.
Mm-hmm.
Try it
Just to
out.
stay on topic, I guess. Unless somebody else has something to say about step 6,
Long
we
term.
can. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, I think we covered the long, and those are really good ones because they're actually realistic.
Yeah.
They're realistic, and I think that it's coming from our perspective. So this is kind of like what we felt back then,
Mhm.
or this is what really, is coming from kids that actually did those fundraisers.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, I did those when I was in elementary, and I think that it's gonna take a lot of weight off of
Mhm.
kids, which is really, what who they're what the fundraising is for, and parents, they're not having to speak up to just kind of like protect their, themselves and their kids in those meetings. So that's gonna take a lot of weight off of that side.
And I do want to add, I know back then when we would do fundraisers, I mean, versus now, kids are really different now too. So if we're talking about the now, some kids can be really mean, right? So
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
Especially
you know,
now. Yeah. Uh-huh.
so very different.
unfortunately, that's how it is with these environments. Especially, I don't know about you guys, but especially now with the media, I've noticed that it's a bit more like, it's very like it's not like before where like when a new fad took over, like you could like almost catch on. It's because like with the internet, everything kind of changes really rapidly. So, it could easily be used against you. But anyways, to move on, rather than just being here forever, we can go to step 7, which again, feel free to take as long as you want. It's just craft a plan of action. So we can start with I guess to make this simpler, we can start with like a beginning. So like a beginning of our plans, like what we plan, and in the middle, and then we can have like what is the end goal, so just to make it a little bit easier. So um just feel free to speak up and I'll write as you guys go along with your plans. Unless you guys want me to begin, I have no problem beginning with what I think would be a good beginning for a plan.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I say go for it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think the first thing that we should start on up from is to do the surveys. Obviously, the first thing we have to do I think for every year going on forth is to collect surveys with information about, the parents' income level, about how not how much each student, actually sells and which family they belong in. I think that the most important thing here is taking notice of the parents' income. So first thing, we push out surveys, ask their parents about their income. And then after that, we start actually implementing how should you say it? I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. How after the surveys, um, I guess we can move on to trying to I guess make others like instead of making like the big because I know about you guys, but back when I was in my school, we sold chocolates. It was like a school-wide event. It was a really big event. But maybe instead of it, maybe we can start off in making short experimental sessions where we do sell that, but it would be like for weeks time. Like, oh, like in this month in particular, we're gonna be selling like this, but we're gonna be fighting against other groups, so maybe we could try it out. Again, I'm just spitballing right now because I kind of had a little brain fart, but what do you guys think would also be a good beginning rather than just the surveys?
I don't know how often the PTA leaders change, but just maybe making it, on a yearly, not having the same leader or president, the same president, maybe just, to get others to come up with different ideas too, right? But just have different presidents or vote on choosing a different president every year.
Okay, so that would bring like different perspectives and ideas, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
Because I mean,
like
you can
that.
have a president where, is stuck on her ways. Like we've been doing the chocolate fundraiser every year, and we're gonna have it no matter what. So yes, you can have a meeting and get the input of what parents are thinking, but still go with it, right? Because it's been done every year versus maybe getting somebody else that is willing to change. Sometimes change is good. So maybe, just getting somebody that will change to, for it to
Yeah, and
work for
not be
everybody.
stuck in the same mindset, like, oh, we've been doing chocolate sales for like a decade. Why should we stop now? I get exactly what you
Yeah,
mean. So, like, have a different change of leadership, essentially, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Maybe
think
that
for
would be
the
an option too.
yeah, but definitely for like the beginning, making sure that it's the fundraising nice and fresh. People are like not discouraged because they know who it is. That the PTA leader. Ah, it's her again. I already know how the story's gonna go.
Oh yeah.
Having someone fresh can just simply be like saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. Let's see what she has to say or he has to say, and then the next I guess action would be having just making sure that the fundraisers are good. Having different fundraisers available, and as a PTA leader, making sure that they are available and definitely like I guess easily accessible for parents to help. And some things are simple. Doesn't always have to fall on the parents. I feel like the PTA leaders should also get involved with the teachers in the school because I know right before I left, they were doing like a duct tape thing where they duct tape the teachers to the wall. So like, oh, buy a strip of tape for $1. So or whatever. So oh I don't know, they wanted to see let's say they want to see me duct tape to the wall, right? So they buy a strip of tape for $1, bring your money. So if and then those kids are the ones putting the tape on, right? So like, oh yeah, boom. So I got 5 strips of tape. I'm gonna tape you some motivation, some fun, where the teachers are getting involved. But like the PTA leaders are the ones, collecting that money, again, making sure that it's organized, and really like the parents are kind of like left out of it. It's kind of like what the students bring. No one knows who got the tape. You know what I mean? They just know. Um, the kids that are there are there. If not, they can just watch, or whatever. But it's kind of like a harmless thing. Uh, and yeah, that like stuff like that. After right, making sure like the leaders are different, having a plan of what fundraisers there are, harmless, of course, and then I guess the middle would be something like I guess noting down what works, what fundraisers are good, and kind of keeping one at least every year. Yeah, this is like the top one that we raise. Keep that one for the next year, and then maybe bring some new ones, and just kind of like keep revolving around there. You know, I guess that could be maybe the middle and in between.
Yeah, I think that's like a good like the beginning and then transition to middle. Like I think that's a good way to flow into it too. Because I think, yeah, like having everyone talk about it and like, really organize what's best like for everybody and what's comfortable and what is making money is like a good, middle solution, to plan it, figure it out, then start, going along with it. And then yeah, to go on to like the end, I would think, yeah, like okay, test out everything and come up with like, okay, like this. And like every like March we do like the chocolate, every February we do like this and every like, having like, okay, planning it out, so it's like comfortable and that's like the rhythm of things instead of being like, okay, we only do one and it's this, whether you do it or not, like it's gonna be this. Like, having, yeah, solutions and different things and like, yeah, like you said, Eva, like maybe changing who the person is, because then that could also lead to like, okay, every year it's different things that we're like fundraising. So I think that's like a good middle to or beginning to middle and then middle to end, like transition all the way through.
Mhm.
Great.
All right. Well, I already have a good, like, from what you guys have said, I already have a good beginning and I already have a good midpoint. Does anybody have what we ultimately want? Like, what is the ultimate goal for the end? Like, what is the last plan of action? What is it that we want at the very end of this? Like, obviously we want equity, obviously that's what we want, to achieve equity and to make everything like, reach the best of conclusions. But essentially, like, what, like, I guess it's like, what do you want to see, basically, right? So,
Mhm.
one.
I would say like to find multiple fundraisers, not to just stick to one, have multiple that bring in good money and make everyone comfortable. I think that would be like the best like solution, have yeah, like that's like the most effort and everyone's comfortable. Everyone's like down for it and is capable of doing it. You're muted.
All right, so just have like a system that works, right? Then-
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think parents, students, PTA leaders just really not but anyone out. And I think if you run into like someone like that, like if my parents are really just stubborn and no, like not now, that's a bad idea and stuff. And or the PTA is like, no, parents are just uncooperating. Let's just cut them out. I think that's one that's really like immature, and I think it's just not a good way to. It's not gonna help anybody. So I think just having a system that works, but it's gonna take really like effort,
Yeah,
not
it's
really
gonna
just
take,
walking in. And
yeah.
I think that's what anybody would want. In the chocolate, regarding the chocolate bar fundraiser story, the case, I think the end goal would be to have everyone involved, putting in their time and just making sure that everyone's included, you know.
Yeah, because I can definitely see how like being stubborn would apply to these parents in particular. Because, um, I think I think all of you guys noticed, but at the very end of the selection, the PTA had a meeting, and because of that meeting, lots of the parents were just suggesting that, that because they were there and present, they were the only ones that really cared. I can definitely see how changing that point of view where really all the parents do care about the children. It's just the simple fact that some parents have a difficult time trying to acknowledge the points and suffrages of other parents because they think to themselves like, well, it's not my child, why should I care? And I feel that, that particularly is going to be very hard to convince the parents. So maybe that could be another beginning goal to like try and inform the parents about as to how this is impactful, how not doing this in the manner that would best be productive for like both ends of the sides, like how detrimental it is basically. So maybe that could be another beginning, but I think that as of now, we have a pretty good beginning, mid, and end. Unless somebody else would like to add something to either one of those points, feel free to say something. If not, I guess after we are done with the plan of action, we can go on to the questions in the selection. Unless somebody has like something to add.
No, I think we're pretty good on
I think we're
everything.
good.
Or Adelie, do you want to add something or your point of view or
Oh no, well, I
anything?
agree with all the options you guys gave. So, Mhm.
Well, I guess, Brandon, if you could possibly switch over to the document that has the chapter, the 3.1,
Yeah.
that way we can just go over the questions. I mean, just to kill the time, because I think since we already did a pretty good job going over the steps, but also
Yeah, I
could you
was
also tell
just
me the time?
looking. Oh, that is something else. Sorry
Uh,
about that. Other homework.
nah,
I
you're good,
was
you're
just
good.
gonna look the same. Okay, I think it should be. Yeah, like I was just looking that we're already on the last step.
Yep,
So I think that I guess I can read the first one.
yep.
Like what are the equity implications of fundraisers that require students to sell items such as chocolate bars? Do you agree with Miss Alexander's concerns about how these fundraisers can alienate students experience poverty? Why or why not? I think, well, again, since I read it, I think that what are the equity implications? Yeah, I think, I mean, it involves money, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, so I think when we're talking about all the students, you're gonna have situations such as this where students just can't afford, to really one themselves buy them, or two just kind of you don't know their situation at home, really their relationships with their families. And I think that um I can agree with her concerns. Um because yeah, like it's just difficult to include students like that. So you are gonna have some like pullback as to like, should I do this? Is this the right thing? Should I keep going with this? But again, like everything that we talked about, like the solutions and everything, I feel like at this moment, right there, like let's say Miss Alexander is kind of like feeling this way. I think
Mm-hmm.
it'll hopefully push her to fix the problem. But yeah, I think I can't agree just because in your heart, like if you're a good person, you're gonna feel like, man, I feel really bad. I wish I could
Sympathy,
help.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could help, and but that's kind of like your job as if you really want to fix it and you kind of want to make sure everyone's included the next time, kind of like explain to them, that you understand, and that, yeah, like it was kind of like an off guard thing, but those solutions have to come from both sides, and yeah, there's always going to be something like that. There's always going to be implications of money, of family. You think you're doing a simple kind, like a kind thing, but it goes way farther than that all the time.
Yeah. I agree
Just
with
to
you, especially, yeah. Oh, wait, you were gonna speak? I'm sorry.
Yes, so on my opinion, I do agree with Mrs. Alexander's concern. Because I know with the fundraisers, once you take, let's just say, a box home, you have to sell it, return in the money. You can't take it back to the school, right? So yeah, if you're already struggling, or low income parents, I mean, you have to pay for the box if you don't sell it. So it just becomes, harder. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty tough. It can be tough.
yeah, I was gonna say exactly that. Especially like with how you were saying about the alienation, where it says that, though I do feel bad, I do feel very bad for the students who are unable to participate, because I know, in one hand it's bad, but at the same time, like I've been saying this entire time, like the funding is very crucial. The funding not only so it contributes to the school funding, but it also contributes to, the groups and where those groups of students are able to go to and experience. And, though I feel bad, I still feel that like the funding in this sense is way too crucial to be let out for, the two parents who brought up the problems. Because I mean, of course there may be parents who don't talk about the issues, who aren't present over here as well, but I mean, it's kind of like, in a sense, like if I was put in the position of being the PTA leader and I needed the funds, unfortunately, I would have to say that I have to go with it. I mean, because making a change at this point would just make everybody angry, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And again, we're kind of short on time. I think the video is gonna end soon, but just to go over the second one, I think it's really cool that I think Cassie brought it up. Again, it's saying if the PTA members are intent on run the PTA members are intent on raising funds to support student activities or make up for budget cuts. What are some ways in which way they can do so that might not require students to compete with one another?
Mm,
How else might the PTA go about addressing the lack of
yeah,
funding for
and I hadn't
student
even read
activities?
the questions. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, again, because we're focused on other things, that's why we're gonna read them. But I
Yeah.
think it's cool. I think it's cool that
Yeah,
again
yeah, it's like a
we're thinking of actual, like I said, realistic things, and then again, I
that
don't think
shows
you
that
have
we
to
were on
answer
track
it.
with the
Yeah, we don't have to
yeah.
answer it because we spent really all video just kind
Yeah.
of talking
Yeah,
about
and I'm all
solutions. So
surprised too. Yeah, because that was like a really good answer. I thought to myself like, huh, wow, that really does
yeah,
make sense. Like,
so
Yeah, yeah.
so good job, Cassie. And then others, like again, we just kind of like brought up ideas. So just kind of shows that we're in the right
Yeah, because
mindset
it's
and
good
actually bringing.
it's good to like look back at our own experiences. Because like I was just saying like how I did high school and middle school and like things that worked and like things that I felt like, oh, like I never saw like any like rudeness between like the higher or lower. Like I had no idea. And I think it was because like there wasn't that division of students and stuff.
yeah.
So that's good.
And then for number three, Ms. Torrance knew the concerns raised by Ms. Alexander and Mr. Cuertas would be drowned out by the voices of other meeting attendees who saw the chocolate bar fundraiser as a school tradition. Can you think of other examples of school traditions that, despite being supported by many people, are biased against or inequitable towards some students and families? Um, I mean, I feel like traditions and stuff are kind of like in school. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like maybe the ones that do come out are really like, family day where the families come and maybe like pick up the students from school after like a fun day or something. Again, that's just kind of like, I don't think it's really inequitable because everyone understands that, parents are working, they can't come see their students.
Hmm.
Some students may feel bad, but at the end of the day, the students are going back home to their parents, and I feel like I feel like schools do a good job in providing students. Like I know when I was there, we were the kids that we saw lonely, like flying their kites. I know we would go and fly kites with them. That's what paraprofessionals are there for too, and everything. And I think that schools also, I would hope that a lot of schools just have that type of awareness. I know that they do.
Yeah.
And where students are, they are missing something, they try to fill that void or they try to fill that role. Yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion, traditions wise.
Yeah. I agree too. I wouldn't consider like chocolate as like a tradition to be selling it every year. Like I feel like that's just a like part of like okay, like a fundraiser. More than
Yeah.
like, yeah, like what you said, like traditions like the Parents' Day or different things that like a school, like more meaningful things other than just selling like candy to
Yeah.
make money and stuff. So
Not
yeah,
only that, but
I
I
agree
also
with
think
that.
that like yeah, I also think that generally here in the valley, like everybody understands as their parents that there's like people and parents that like just they can't afford giving too much. So I think like especially here in the valley, like I was saying, everybody already has like an innate understanding. Maybe it might not be so prevalent in other places that are beyond the valley, like maybe San Antonio or Houston, but here, especially in the valley, like I feel like everybody has an innate understanding of like funding low income families. So, I think, at least personally in the culture that I've experienced in my own school, I never felt that like, I never felt alienated because I didn't sell X amount of chocolate bars, right? Like nobody brings that up. Like as just in my at least in my experience, but yeah, that's my own input for number 3. Brandon, if you don't mind me asking, how are we doing on time?
Yeah, it's already at that time. We got about 3 minutes left, so I think we
Yeah, I
covered.
think we covered everything.
Yeah, I think we did
Yeah,
a good job this time, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, it was a different. It was interesting. It was kind of like a, breath of fresh air where you're actually on the side of someone who is trying to do good. It's not like they made a mistake,
Yeah.
or it was something that could have been done better. I just think it was like was said at the beginning, it was sort of a discussion. It was really like it was black and white, and I think we just came up with solutions instead of like what if, like a what if. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
we covered everything as far as what could have been done, and they were really good ones. Just based on the questions, I think that we were thinking outside of the box.
Yep.
Yeah, good problem solving skills.
All
All
right, so
right.
I'm gonna go ahead and end it. Thank you guys for
Yeah, no problem.
meeting.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Mhm.
Yes, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Technically.